Hello, all, and welcome. We are back with another series on 5 Minute University. In this new series, Coaching for Transformation, we will unpack the coaching strategies that help leaders grow into the best versions of themselves. Joining me today is Susan Minaya, Executive Coach, COO, and Chief Learning Strategist of Minaya Learning Global Solutions. Today, we're talking about something deeper than goal setting or action plans. We're exploring how perception itself can either limit or liberate a leader. Stay tuned to learn more. Hello, Susan. It's always a pleasure.
Hi, Dario. Back together again.
Back together. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So, Susan, let's start from the top, right? Where else can you start? What exactly is perceptual coaching, and how is it different from other coaching approaches?
That's a great question. At its core, perceptual coaching is about shifting how people see, how they see themselves, how they see others, and the situations around them. Traditional coaching often helps with behaviors or decisions that people make. But perceptual coaching asks, what's the lens you're seeing through? Are your perceptions based on current reality, or are they based on outdated narratives that you've been telling yourself? It's like clearing the rain off of your windshield. Until you do, even the best driving skills won't help you get where you need to go.
I love that metaphor. Now, you often talk about the difference between faulty thinking and limiting beliefs, right? So can you walk us through what those differences are and why they matter in coaching context?
Oh, absolutely. Faulty thinking often shows up as temporary distortions, things like assuming the worst. This isn't going to end well. How many times have you said that to yourself? Or
I've said it multiple times.
overgeneralizing things. This always happens when the CFO is involved. Yeah, this is faulty thinking that really can be corrected through strategies, through awareness and cognitive reframing. And what I mean by that is how we reframe the statements. This isn't going to end well can be reframed by, I can approach this differently to achieve a better outcome this time. So you're going to end up better than it was before. Or if we say this always happens when the CFO is involved, well, you could say the CFO has information needs, and I can actually structure my presentation to give her what she needs sooner so she won't derail my presentation, right? So it's not, there may be some truth in there, but how do you not make it so catastrophic for you at the end, right? And begin to have a little bit more of a positive framing. So it's about recognizing that you have can have a different experience, and your mindset is one way to achieve that. So it sounds simple just to say those statements, but it takes work to train yourself to learn how to stop when you start talking like that in your head or to other people, to learn how to say, whoop, nope, I got to stop right there. I got to move on. Okay.
Holding yourself accountable in those moments.
Yeah. And that takes practice and time. Limiting beliefs, on the other hand, run way deeper, right? So these start touching on things that go way back, things we've been telling ourselves for a long time. These are stories we've internalized. Things like, I'm not good enough, or if I don't control everything, something will fall apart. In our mind, this is how we feel. And even though they're not, we think that they're true. And they came through experiences or some type of emotional experience from some other past situation. So perceptual coaching creates a space for leaders to examine those beliefs and ask, is this belief still serving me, or is it limiting me?
Well, that sounds incredibly deep and personal.
Yeah. Almost therapy-ish, but not.
Yeah. Can you help us understand from a brain science perspective why these beliefs are so hard to change? I imagine with all of the training you had to do in this field and your certification, you would have some understanding of this, or this would be part of that curriculum, right? So what's happening neurologically that keeps people stuck?
It's such a great question. And, the brain is really designed for efficiency. It builds natural pathways based on repeated thoughts or emotional experiences that we have. So if someone repeatedly hears or thinks, I'm not a real leader, the brain wires that belief into its kind of shortcut in the brain, right? So it's there, it's embedded. That's the story we tell ourselves. An interesting story about that, in my certification program on perceptual coaching through the Center for Executive Coaching with Andrew Netlich, he was demonstrating how to coach to change limiting beliefs with the group. And 3 women brought up the limiting beliefs that they had. And when he asked them, how old were they when they recalled first thinking these thoughts, each of them said it was around the ages of 5 to 7 years old.
My goodness.
Yes. Can you imagine?
Yeah,
that is really deep programming in the brain.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, some of these limiting beliefs that we have are really very, very deep rooted. He explained it was really like the grooves in a record album. And we play these limiting beliefs over and over again in the daily lives that we have, sometimes for years, right? And they could be spawned from maybe traumatic experiences. Say, for example, you think you're not a good public speaker because one time you had this terrible experience where you shut down in a very critical public way in a presentation. And so you just have the fear of being able to do public speaking. So sometimes you look at it and say it sort of borders on therapy, but it's really not. But it is very deep rooted. And instead of looking back, you could say, when did you start thinking about it? But then let's turn our coaching questions forward to how can we change these beliefs together? So over time, it really becomes an unconscious default that we create for ourselves. And changing that requires not just new thinking, but new neural experiences. And that's why having presence, curiosity about the situation, and emotional safety are really essential in perceptual coaching. They literally support the brain in rewiring itself.
So how does this show up in your actual coaching work then? What are key things you're listening for or doing differently in a session?
The first practice is deep presence. As a
Okay.
coach, in these, before you even ask a question, I think you really have to center yourself, as we always do as coaches when we begin our coaching session, so that we're really focused on helping the client slow down. Because part of the coaching experience is allowing them to have space and time to be able to really reflect on their behaviors, the things that they say, their patterns, their challenges, in a way that they feel safe. It's super important to create that space at the beginning of the session. And then as a coach, really paying close attention to language that your coachee is using. Things like I always or I can't. These kind of things signal beliefs or faulty thinking. And so I like to use reflective questions like, when did that start feeling true for you? Or what's the story underneath that assumption? How do we get that in our head, really? And it's about the client naming that thought or belief, examining its origin, and then choose whether they want to keep it, reframe it, or release it because it's not serving them anymore.
Wow, that's really interesting. Why is this kind of coaching especially relevant for leaders today, right? What's at stake if a leader doesn't get the chance to shift their perception?
If you look at the role of leaders and organizations, leaders shape culture, they shape the environment everywhere that they are. They're how they are and what they're embodying is projected from them. So it's really important for leaders to kind of see and understand what they're throwing off, if you will, for lack of a better word. If they're operating from unexamined beliefs like I can't show vulnerability, or I need to be the smartest person in the room, or they never have respect for our input, they start creating environments for people around them that are environments of fear. Maybe people don't speak up, negativity on the team, and just in general, or disconnections for their teams and the organization as well. So it's how they show up impacts everything around them. This will sound really funny probably, but it's like a room air freshener. Whatever that scent is what you're throwing off. So if you have those beliefs, they're going to show up in some form or fashion, right?
Yeah.
In your behaviors or what you're withholding or holding back or things like that. Well, perceptual coaching frees them from those inner constraints.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important. It empowers them to really lead with clarity, authenticity, and a renewed confidence in their abilities. Just through the practices with the coach of really exploring kind of how we reframe things that we say, that we just say them out of default when we really shouldn't be doing that, or beliefs that we have about ourselves that really aren't accurate. It was from a moment in time and it's not true now. So how do we change that? And that has a ripple effect in more positive ways rather than the negative ways.
Wow, Susan, thank you for such a honestly powerful conversation. For those listening, here are a few questions to take with you. What beliefs might be shaping how you lead? Are they helping or are they hindering you? If you found this episode insightful, we hope you'll share it with a colleague or reflect on it with your team. And be sure to stay tuned for our next episode in our Coaching for Transformation series, where we'll explore coaching for power and influence. Until next time.